Straight Life by Art and Lori Pepper. This is the latest episode of Straight Life. The chapter title is The Los Angeles County Jail, The Hole, 1960-1961. And this is part 4 of that chapter. As is usual with Art, it was the best of times and the worst. Here's Art's narrative. I wound up in the first cell with my old boosting partner, Rudy. He got busted about the same time I did. We were made tank trustees. One day, I was wandering around, walking up and down the freeway going, woe is me, and thinking about how groovy it would be to get loaded when I happened to look out to the front of the tank. When a newcomer comes in, he carries his little donut, his filthy mattress and blanket and cup, and he puts the donut down and waits for the guard to come and open the tank. I heard a donut hit the deck, and I looked up and saw this guy, and I said, oh no, it can't be. Wow, that's David Arbedian. I wanted to run up to the front, but I tried to be cool. I had a feeling as soon as I saw him, I thought, maybe he's packing something. There's 2 ways of carrying dope into jail. Either you swallow it and vomit it up, or else you've got it stuck up your ass and far enough to where in a shakedown they can't see it. David's parents owned a business. He had a lot of money, and he'd always had a lot of dope. I just figured if he had a chance, he would bring something in. I looked, and I had a feeling. Now, it has to be a real friend of yours for you to get in on anything, and David was a good friend of mine. We'd been in Fort Worth together. We'd hung out together. I'd eaten at his pad at his parents'. I'd wrecked his father's car. I had to be cool because of all the people watching. There's all these hustlers, and everybody's got their eyes open to see if anything's going on, and they can really pick up on it, because that's their life, seeking dope. I walked up to the front, and it was David. He was always a handsome guy. He always had some groovy chick with a Corvette and all that. He was strong-looking with white teeth and a handsome face and a solid jaw, but babyish, with a boyish grin and black curly hair. He was the kind of guy women wanted to take care of, and he always played on that. He'd just gone through that shower thing. His hair was all messed up and he looked kind of crazy, kind of disheveled and lost. Then he saw me. He saw a friend in the jungle and he got a warm look on his face and he nodded to me. I said, what happened? He said, oh man, I got busted for possession. Dead bang. That means there's no way out. He had no case. The guys were standing around. They're looking at me, and they're looking at David. And one says, hey, Jack, what's going on, baby? A black guy. He's strutting along, and then he kind of sidles up. The black guys really have got an image going, the real fiends. They're so suave. They'll talk to people they don't even know. The Mexicans are different. They're closed off and won't say anything, even when they're dying for some stuff. This guy comes up and says, hey, Jack. And he looks around to see where the heat is. He gets up by the bars and he says, real low, I know you didn't come dry, baby. And I know you're going to look after old Dad. The guy doesn't even know who David is. A lot of white guys are that way too, and they talk like the black guys with the same inflections. Some white guys talk like Mexicans. Everybody's got his own little game. David says, no, ain't nothing happening. Oh, that's too bad, man. You wouldn't lie to me, would you, baby? No, nothing happening. I'm standing there hoping it isn't true. The guy saunters back. David's still outside the tank waiting for the guard to let him in. I look at him, and he looks at me, and he kind of nods his head. He smiles. I give him a quizzical like, what, really? It was just a meeting of the eyes, no words said. But in those expressions, I knew something was happening. The guard let him in and called for the trustee. I was there. I took his name. The two trustees take care of the whole tank. We have all the names listed and line everybody up for count in the evening. The number 1 cell is the biggest cell in the tank. There's 2 bunks against the wall, and there's a toilet and wash basin and a metal partition that comes out. The tank was crowded, so I told David, just put your stuff here in number 1, man. That was a dangerous thing to do because people would wonder. But I made it clear right away that the guy was a friend of mine. And because it was so crowded, I was going to let him catch the floor in number 1. When we got to the point where we could talk, I whispered to David, you holding? He said, yeah. I said, how? He said, I got a keister stash. He was already getting sick, and I was wigging out from waiting. But he had to wait till nighttime to get the stuff because people were walking by and looking and trying to feel it out. Time passed, and the night came. They call salts and soda, and then the bulls come in a team and run up to all the cell blocks and rack the gates. And all the gates in all the cells are roaring and rattling and clanging. They're all shaking, and you have to get in one. They leave one cell open for the people sleeping out on the freeway, so there's a toilet for them to use. The bulls holler, number 5 cell open. It was fortunate that the place was completely filled at this time. Bad in one way because there were so many eyes. But if it hadn't been filled, it would have been harder to get David into our cell. I'd told Rudy what was going on. David gets his stash. He makes it. He's wiped out. I say, I'm going next. How good is it? He says, well, here, I'll put it in the spoon. I say, put a little bit more. If I'm going to go out, I want to go out happy. David bends over and lights a match so I can see the vein. I mainline it rather than trying to hit a small vein in my hand, even though it's a dead bust. If they'd said, you're going to die after, I would have said, okay, just let me do this first. I fixed, and it was so great. Rudy says, come on, orale, Art, my turn. I feel so good. I'm grabbing David. I just want to kiss him. I'm telling him, oh, God, David, I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Kill me, Sheriff Pitches. Blow up the whole county jail. Who cares? I was so happy. I once said that there's nothing like the first time, but there were a lot of good times, and that was one of them. The next day, people were looking at us. David's supposed to be kicking, but he's not. I told him, act sick. Our eyes were pinpointed. Rudy and I were running the tank, and we were both wasted, and the guys picked up on it. Guys came to me, hey, man, I thought we were tight. Guys I knew well. I said, man, there ain't nothing happening. These were cats I would have loved to have turned on, but I couldn't do it. I ain't got nothing, you know that. People get angry. The next night comes, we go through the same thing. David gets loaded. I get loaded, and then it's time for Rudy. He's all ready, and all of a sudden I hear a noise. Running. I say, here they come. Ahí viene, la jura. Here comes the fuzz. Rudy doesn't know what to do. All he had to do was palm the thing and act like he was asleep. But instead, he's trying to get it in his arm. I'm in the top bunk and I look down. Rudy's got the outfit in his right hand. He's got his left arm over his knee trying to find a vein. And here's a flashlight right on this whole action. They scream, "Don't move, don't move." They're trying to get to the water to turn it off, but they can't get in. The rollers have to get the key to get in. It's a security thing. I'm telling Rudy, get rid of it. David takes the spoon and cleans it. I tie the stuff up in the condom and throw it to him. He puts it in his mouth and swallows it. They're yelling, "Don't move or it's all over for you." I tell Rudy, they don't have a gun. They don't have guns here. Hurry, before they shut the water off. Get rid of it. He gets up. Finally. "Don't move, don't move." My heart is pounding. Get rid of it. The bulls are running for the water, and once they reach it, we're dead. Outfit-wise, you know. He goes to the toilet and says, "I gotta take a piss." They're hollering. Boy, are they mad. He dumps the thing into the toilet and hits the button. No sooner does it go down, I swear to God, you hear the flush, and then whoosh, clunk. They'd shut the water off. If he'd waited another second, we'd have been stuck with it. So David had swallowed the stuff. We got the spoon clean. We'd flushed the outfit. And now we hear the keys clanging. The front gates are clashing and they're telling people, "Get in one." They get all the people that were on the freeway into cells. They get everyone locked up. And they run into our cell and grab us. "Get out of there." They throw us out onto the freeway against the bars. They shook us down and went through the whole place, just tore the cell apart. Didn't find nothing. While we were standing out on the freeway, I said to David and Rudy, "Look it, man, look it. This is what we're going to tell them. We found an old outfit that was made out of a toothbrush and a light bulb. I'd never tried it, but I'd heard about it, and the police believe it. They've found things like that." I said, "We got a hold of some aspirin, and we were goofing around. We crushed it up. We were trying to shoot it. We had to cover for the marks. That's our story, and just stick to it. We got to have a story, and that's it." I was very proud of myself that I'd made it up like that. They took us before the doctor. We closed our eyes and made our fingers meet in front of us, touched our noses. He looked at our eyes, looked at our arms. The doctor said, "These men are loaded." We denied it. They interrogated us, and we all told the same story. They said, "Who do you think you're kidding? How do you think we came there? We were told. We were told that you had stuff and that you'd been getting loaded for the last 3 or 4 days." I said, "Oh, that's great." They took us to the hole. I'd never been there, but I'd heard about it. They opened the door and took Rudy away. They made me and David go through a gate, and they took all our clothes off and gave us a pair of long johns. I couldn't button mine. They came to my knees and barely fit over my shoulders. David's were just as bad. They took David to his cell. They opened the door, a solid steel door, smashed it open, and I looked in and saw a pitch black cell. They told him, "Whenever you hear us coming, just crouch in that corner. And if you're anyplace else, we'll kick your teeth out when we come in." They threw him in and threw an old dirty blanket after him. No shoes, nothing. They opened mine. They told me, "Whenever you hear this door open, you be crouched in that far corner, or we'll kick your teeth out." They slammed the door, and the reverberation was so loud, it went through my head and through it and through it. I had half a blanket, and that was it. That and the cold cement floor and a toilet. And there was a grating in the wall. You could hear water dripping. You could talk through the grating. I heard Rudy hollering for us. I thought, well, if I can hear him and David can hear him, then the police must be listening. I said, Rudy, cool it, man. We told them the truth. There's no use making up any false stories. They're listening to us now. Time passed. The next day came. I could tell by the sound of the racking of the gates, and then I heard keys rattling and doors banging, and I crouched in the corner. A guard came to the door and slammed it open as hard as he could. I put my hands over my ears. The guard had a trustee with him who shoved in a little paper plate and a paper cup with a top on it. The cup had water in it, and the plate had some food slopped over it. He slammed the door shut again. I tried to eat a little of the food. They'd warned us, don't put the food down the toilet. If you stop up the toilet, you'll be sorry. The next day, I heard the noise, and here they are. The door slams open. I'm crouched in the corner. The trustee reaches in, and he's got a board. He's pounding around the plate with it. I look and see hundreds of cockroaches running off the plate. He pulls it out, throws it into a pail, and puts in another water cup and another plate of food. I see the cockroaches running away, and then, in the light from the open door, I see them turn around and head back to the new plate. The door slams shut again. If I was scared before, when I saw that, I was terrified. There's nothing more scary than cockroaches when you can't see them. I felt that they were crawling in my nose and in my asshole and in my ears and eyes and mouth. I didn't touch the food at all. I opened the cup a little bit and drank the water. During this time, I heard David. He's talking to me through the grating. He's kicking. He's saying, I'm really sick. I feel awful, man. I don't know what to do, Art. He said, I saw the cockroaches and I'm scared. I said, don't put your food in the toilet, man. He said, I already did and it stopped up and water's pouring out in my cell. I heard his cell open. Evidently, water had run out through the door and they'd seen it. I heard them raving at him. They made him wipe the floor with his blanket. They hit him. They smashed him against the wall. They slammed the door and left him in the wet long johns. I was curled up in my little blanket trying to keep any part of my body from touching the floor. I imagined that big spiders and bugs were coming out of the grating. David was crying. The guards came twice a day with food and water. They asked us, well, are you guys ready to change your story? We told them there was nothing to change. It seemed they were just going to keep us there. There was no way we could get out. We couldn't get a lawyer. There was no help we could get. David was deathly ill. He told me if there was any way I could kill myself, I'd do it. I just don't know how to do it. I said, oh, man, just hold on, hold on. We were there for 5 days. It seemed like eternity. Finally, they took us back to our cell block. They figured if they put us back in the same tank, the guys would beat us up. We weren't trustees anymore. We were shot back in the second section and treated very bad. David told the guys in the tank, come on, if you're going to do anything to us, do it and get it over with. And we'll get some of you as we're going out. But they let it go. I told my friends, it wasn't my stuff. There was nothing I could do. If it had been my stuff, I would have given you a taste. So it blew over.